The Met Police are conducting targeted patrols to raise awareness of thefts and pickpocketing, and they've released this video here taken on public transport. They task you with whether or not you can see the pickpocketing going on, and I'll do the same. I've got my own example that I'll come back to in a minute that I did a video on some time ago with my own criticism of the police, shock, horror. But let's watch the video first and see if you spot it. Let me know what you think. If you didn't spot it, it's happened already. So they rewound and then you see it again. So let's go back to the beginning. What's happening here is you can see that this lady, prominent on screen now, I've just paused it. She leans there so as to cause some sort of a distraction. So the guy behind is now, I think it's a guy behind, he now obviously will be motivated to move forward because he'll be thinking, what is she doing? So this is a common decoy because drawing attention to themselves very often distracts from the pickpocketing, ironically. And I've got another example that I'll show you of exactly that in a few moments. So they do something to distract by drawing attention to themselves. It sounds counterintuitive, but this is how it works. So she's leaning on the side of the bus there, which somewhat draws attention to herself because he obviously wants to get on the bus. She's stopped the flow of people getting on the bus. He's obviously then thinking, what are you doing? You get out the way, let me on the bus. So we continue play. He's sort of, no, excuse me, let me through. So she's moved to the side. He's got this bag in his hand, which has obviously got things in it. And then he makes his way onto the bus. But of course, then his attention at this point is now completely gone from her because in his mind, he's dealt with the situation. She's got out of the way. As far as he's concerned, that was it. Nothing else going on. He's got on the bus. But of course, she now sneaks in. You can see here, she sneaks in behind and pause. You can see her hands come underneath because he's not looking there. His attention is on the bus driver, the queue in front, and paying for his ticket or using his pass or whatever. So she's reaching in and helping herself to the stuff in his bag. Doubtless she's got some kind of knife or whatever, or it was partly open and she's helped herself to what was inside. She can be seen up on the left-hand side there. And now she makes her way off. So that plays through once again. She helps herself underneath his arm and then makes her way off to the side. Now, as I said, I have another example of this, which I will find for you because it's in a video that I did back a year ago now. It tells me a year ago. That's not always entirely accurate. But this one here was another one. This was inside a cafe where it was actually, she was a trainee barrister at the time, I think, when this happened, or she just finished her training and she's now a practicing lawyer, I understand, and was brave enough to go and get her belongings back. But she had them taken in this cafe here. So again, just observe it. Let me know whether you spot it. Take a look at this. That was it. Did you spot it? Let's find out. Let's watch it.
So with the basic outline of the story, you may have spotted that theft take place. Did you notice how quick it was? Did you notice that the thief was even being kind and engaging with the victim and family? Because most of you would expect that the thief is probably trying to hide and not speak to anybody, but this is not necessarily the case. This is why it's so deceptive. Thieves will often engage with you and talk to you because you are much less likely to suspect somebody that's being kind to you. Let's say they hold a door open for you. You are probably less likely to suspect somebody that holds the door open for you or that is engaged with you in some other kind of way, such as to speak to you or ask you the location of something. But all these are distractions.
Or in the example that I showed you, obstruct you so that your attention is not on are they trying to pickpocket you, because you'd expect that to be all secretive, but obstruct you in some way. So you consciously interact to say, hey, what's going on? Move out of the way, let me through, or whatever. But then as soon as you're through, in your mind, that obstruction is cleared. And so it's a cognitive break and from what they are really doing. Let's listen on.
All these are distraction techniques. As I've said in previous videos, when somebody says, do you have the time? It's a distraction technique because it takes your eyes and your focus off the person in front of you, off anything around you, and somebody might be coming up beside you, around you, slipping their hand into the pocket, as was the case in this clip. So if you didn't spot the theft, the phone was in the victim's right hand pocket. We'll watch the clip again and I'll put some overlays on it which will pinpoint the location of the phone and the thief so that you can see exactly what happens. Watch this again.
So in come the victims. They've got lots of shopping bags and things like that. And there's the pickpocket right there. She came rushing in behind. No one really felt it because they're so distracted by what's going on. And she even had an exchange with them here. And she even asked them about something. She said, you know... And then she's off on her way. So that's how easy it is. So the Met Police are trying to raise awareness of this. It's happening more and more and more and more. And so I'm here to try to raise awareness of it as well. Do be careful. If you get someone interrupt your flow, interrupt your natural movements and things like this, do be mindful that this is probably what they're doing. You would expect, most people expect that a pickpocket is all secretive and trying to hide from you. And it's very often the complete opposite of what you'd expect. That is misdirection. It's not showmanship. I'm not going to start doing a Darren Brown thing here, but it is misdirection. If you've seen his shows and you've seen the other pickpocket guy that was on the TED Talk, it is all about misdirection. So whatever you think is going to happen, it's usually something else. So they are distracting you in one way or another, whether it's an obstruction, whether it's trying to be helpful, whether it's asking you for directions, whether it's asking you what you think about a certain thing. It makes you think of a certain thing. For example, if someone points in a certain direction and says, you know, is that the X down there? And you turn, because they're pointing down there, you turn to think about what they're saying. And you're trying to think, is that really that thing down there? And they are distracting you somehow. Meanwhile, their hand is slipping in your pocket back here. I've had someone try to do that to me in a supermarket before now. I felt something tug. What they do is they tug at the bottom of your jacket so they can slip their hand in there quickly to grab something out, usually your phone or your wallet or whatever. I felt that, and I knew instinctively immediately what it was because I walk around somewhat semi-paranoid at all times. I'm always aware of my surroundings. I felt the tug and I elbowed backwards. Just very quickly, I elbowed backwards because I felt that there was someone grabbing there. And I turned around and sure enough, this guy scurried off. Now, had it been the case that it was just an accident and I was mistaken, well, first of all, I could rely on the mistake in self-defense. So before anyone heavily criticizes me for doing that, you can rely on mistake if it's a reasonable mistake to make because someone grabbed my jacket pocket, unless you're intoxicated and then mistake doesn't work for self-defense. But if it were just a mistaken incident, he would much more likely have said, hey, why did you do that? He didn't. He looked at me, looked guilty, turned, scurried, and disappeared. So I stopped myself from a pickpocketing in a supermarket of all places. They tugged the jacket and went to slip the hand in. It didn't work. It was unsuccessful, and he went on his way. So be vigilant, be mindful, and if you do get someone that's trying to distract you in some kind of way like that, bear in mind, it's not always secretive. They are not always being secretive with you. They are very often trying to distract you. They're trying to target your attention elsewhere, anywhere other than what it is that they want. And now I'm going to say something else as well. This might come across as being somewhat an unpopular opinion. When people walk around the streets, they are walking around with their phone out like this. Now, let me say this to you. If you're walking around in the street with your phone out like this, it is very much easier for them to take. Now, I am not victim blaming here, but what I am saying is it is much easier for them to take it. Now, if you were not using the phone, because obviously if it's out and it's like this, you are using it, right? But if you were not using the phone, would you walk out holding it like this down the road? Would you just walk down the road holding it out like this? That now sounds ridiculous, because if you're not using it, why would you hold it out? Would I take something else? Would I take my fantastic DJI wireless mic 2, not a sponsored video. They are fantastic, genuinely. Would I walk down the street holding this out like this? That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Pick something else up at random. My Rode mic. I've got a lot of mics on my desk here. Would I walk down the street just holding something valuable out? No, of course I wouldn't. So why would you do it with a phone if you're not using it? Well, you wouldn't, because it would be a bit silly, because it would be easy for someone to take off you. But you do it when you're using it. And the distraction for you is that you're using the phone. Because you're using the phone, you think that somehow it's okay to have it out here. But, I mean, it doesn't matter what your phone is worth, whether it's £100 or £1,500. If you're holding it out here, it's easy for somebody to take off you. So, not victim blaming, I promise you. This is a very real life reality check. If you hold it out in front, it's easier for them to take. You wouldn't do it with a laptop. I mean, my laptop's here. I can't pick it up because I'm using it. But I wouldn't hold my laptop up and walk down the street. And then before someone says, yeah, but that's not as valuable as the phone. Well, some laptops are. Some laptops are about £1,000. The phones, I mean, this was new. I've treated myself recently to a new phone. This was about £1,500 or whatever it was. Horrendous amount of money, but I don't change them very often. I wouldn't walk down the street with a laptop held out in front of me. So don't do it with your phone. That's my tip to you. I'm not victim blaming, I promise you. It's just a reality check that this really does happen. So that's my extension of assistance to the Met Police. Hopefully this has hit a wider audience as they intended to do. Please be vigilant about there and take care of your belongings and take care of each other. And with that, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. I'll see you next time.